Welcome to another episode of Just My Baby Daddy podcast. It's your boy AJ, and today we're going to talk about a subject matter that is very important to me. A subject matter that without this, there's no way I could really do fatherhood. There's fatherhood, parenthood, life, everything. They say you're supposed to have partners, and you're not really supposed to be doing life by yourself. But it looks different when you become a dad. And what I mean by that is you can't really just know what to do. No one knows what to do, but it's very important to have other dads that have been there or going through the same thing with you that you can talk to. And for that conversation, I could think of nobody better than to have than, like I said, the village. There's no village without these two. I have a returning guest, Mr. Samuel Bryant, and a first time guest, probably first time on camera doing anything, Mr. Bernard Richards, and thank you, brothers, for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to be here.
It's great.
Yeah, definitely.
And so for a little backstory of it all. Now, these are like my best friends in each other's weddings, and started working together in 2006. And that's how I know I'm getting old, because like saying 2006 just doesn't sound that long ago until like
Coming up on
it's
20.
fucking like 20 years ago. And it's like,
Coming up on 20.
it's like,
Yeah.
it makes me want to not like say years and stuff, because it ages myself. It's like, yeah, we worked together in the past. Like, just put it like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, instead of putting it out there. And when we all started working together, of course, none of us have 20-year-old children, right? And
Right.
none of us had kids. Just for a long story short, within the course of 9 years, there was 8 kids between the three of us. And it started with a daughter with Bernard, and then I had a daughter, and then Sam had a son, and then I had a son, and then Sam had a son, and Sam had a son. And we thought, things was gonna be cool. And then Bernard had a daughter, and we was like,
Yeah.
so this is the way it's going to be. So Bernard's going to have all girls. Sam's going to have all boys. I'm going to have a mix. And then I had another one. So now there's 4 boys and 4 girls between us. And it's like, it's crazy. It is crazy. And when you sit back and think about it, it's like, we had no idea what we were doing. We still don't. Like, to be honest. To be honest, we still don't. And I didn't even know what to even call like our friendship, or not just our friendship, but what we have when it comes to fatherhood, because you hear it so often, right? Like, especially with women, like my village. I need to be near my village. And like for me, it's like I don't got no fucking village. I got my nigga, like it's just my people, right? But
Right.
but when you really put in perspective, it is a village. So I'm gonna ask both of y'all, like, what does a fatherhood village mean to you all?
Well, Fatherhood Village, it's a group of friends and family. I mean, really family, period. I mean, when I really think about it, we all family, but just somebody to talk to about good times, bad times, somebody to pick up the slack when you can't handle it. I mean, there's so much to it. It's almost just like another set. Like all my kids have at least two men they could go to and ask the same questions that they would ask me. Answers are going to be different, but I trust all the answers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. I mean, like to piggyback on Sam, I think for me, it's having the diverse perspective. I want my kids to, although I want them to come to me when they have an issue, I want to make sure that they can go and get a diverse perspective on different subjects. And I think that's the essence of what a village concept means, is that trusting individuals, is making sure that, they know that there's a safe place to go if they want to discuss something that they can't necessarily talk to me about at the moment. They can reach into Sam, AJ, or any of my brothers that are around. And I think that's a valuable point in raising kids, making sure that they can have different inputs, because that make them a better human overall. And having that individual to lean on. For me, being away from immediate family, you really lean on that friendship factor significantly in this case when I know that, hey, look, I can't get to my kids. Let me call on one of my friends to help me with them. Or my child is doing something, maybe the way I explain it to them doesn't resonate as opposed to if I share that story with someone close to me, MK, AJ, or Sam here, and they share their perspective. There are times where kids come back like, oh, that's what I've been telling you. But it's good. It's good. The general concept is just good to have the. If you don't have it, I think it's a valuable point to have that individual that you can lean on and discuss stuff that's going through in your life.
What's funny, Sam? You said family, and to me, granted, and I'll get to how our friendships develop into family, but I feel like it's a little different than family, though, and it should be separated a little bit because for me, my family, I can go to them from perspective. Now, granted, everybody has their own, they go through life and their own things, but my family, I get a lot of, we all were raised together. We all were, so for my family, I can get a general idea of it because, like, we were raised, all our mothers are different, but we got, basically raised the same type of thing. Whereas, like, for you, I have no, you're coming from perspective of somebody being raised in Philly. Bernard, you know what I mean? Like, hell, you're coming from somebody being raised in the 50s. So, like, it's like totally, well, not 50, 8, 7, but we all in the 80s, but like, I was a kid. You were, so, but like, it's different. And that's why I feel like it holds a different type of weight to me than just my family from that
Yeah,
perspective.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It definitely is different. That just kind of like speaks to what I was saying with regards to like, conversations that my kids will have with you guys, they they're just gonna get a different answer. And I never thought that I would have men that I can disagree with that I also trust to tell my kids a truth that even might be different than mine. Like so it's yeah, like I get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and, and to that point, right? And I'm gonna tell you, and I think I may have even said this to you all because it's different, especially for me, where if you grow up in a family where not to discredit either one of my uncles, but one was in Newport News, Virginia. I'm in DC. The other had his own thing. Like I love my uncle, but like when you think of like a uncle that's just like the uncle, like I ain't got to. If I got to explain it, then these are the type of people that don't really need to be listening to this shit anyway. You know what I mean? The people that I'm talking to, y'all get what I'm talking about, right? That uncle. I kind of feel like I'm growing into being that uncle as well. But like, but I never had that growing up around a bunch of guys, bunch of men. So was that something that you grew up with? Like, hey man, I'm used to having these guys grow up, and these are going to be the men that help raise me because I know what it's like. I didn't have that.
Got it. Now, I did have that, man. My father, which is my stepfather, but he's been around since I was 8. Um, 100% my father and 100% one of my best friends, right? Always been honest, always been willing to allow me to learn sort of like the tough love and all of that sort of stuff. And in addition to that, I had 3 uncles. One passed away last year, but I had 3 uncles that I got to spend a lot of time with. But I grew up in Philly and they were in New York and New Jersey, so I didn't see them like on a weekly basis. But like I could always call them and I could always talk to them about issues. By the time I became by the time I became an adult though and started dealing with what I would call like adult things, there was a good bit of separation because I was all the way down here in the DC area. They're all the way up north. And and my dad, he and my mom split, so he started dealing with his own stuff too. So it was a weird time when it all came together. And I feel lucky sort of that these relationships, like unexpected, but they all formed sort of like just in the nick of time. Like it was like the relationship, the friendships started hanging out, and it feels like a blink, you blink the eye, and then the family started. Yeah,
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, I hear that too, Sam. So for me personally, in terms of like I felt like I've always had a strong presence of male around me, being the younger of, seven kids. I had all of my older brothers that were, I didn't think I leaned it, as Sam was talking about. I didn't lean on them now this part of my life. When I was growing up much younger, as he was kind of talking about that, I'm thinking in my head, I didn't really lean on my brothers all they're around later on in my life. But younger, they were that foundation that kind of brought me up, the kind of, always steady as a rock individuals that I can look back and be like, there. My dad passed away, and I think when I was 12 years old, but I felt like my brothers stepped in and they were there. There was no interruption in terms of role model or people I can look at and model my life after. So it was definitely a good upbringing surrounded by really foundations that kind of form who I am today in my life.
So let me ask you a question, Sam, because I'm back to the family portion. I think I've expressed this before. It was odd to me at first, and it seemed different to me because, like I said, I didn't grow up around like a bunch. It was just all women in my family,
Mm.
and then it's just whatever men they may have had around, but it's not. They're not in my house. They're not my presence. I'm used to like my mom's best friend to me. This is my aunt. Period. Like there's that I can't even view her any other way. And these are my cousins. When your kids, when you was like, hey, this is Uncle J or Bernard, Uncle B, and you're like saying this is uncle and uncle and uncle and stuff like that. At first, to me, it felt like that's a little like we're not. But when we gonna grow up and realize that we're not family, but then I had to separate and step out of myself. I'm like, well, if my aunt is my aunt, but I swear to God, if we take a DNA test, she's not my aunt.
Right.
Damn it, she's my aunt. I can view it the same way with my kid because it for me, it was even hard for me to be like, yeah, they'd be like, my kids will always say Uncle Sam, right? And I'd be like, well, that ain't your uncle. Like, how comfortable were you with because of your past and being around your father that had men around you? Were you comfortable with that from jump? Just be like, yeah, well, I know these are my people, so this is now going to be your uncle. Because for me, it was even a little just awkward thing at first. Not that I never would be like, hey, don't call me that or nothing like that. But it was just like, okay, I guess I am because our kids are cousins. There's no way around it. They are.
Right, right. No, I don't know. It just kind of flowed, man. And it's weird too because like so I have a lot of siblings, but I was only raised really with like one or two of my like step siblings, and they weren't even in the house. So like that whole like that's odd because that whole situation is weird for me because I met them all when I was like adults, when I was an adult and such. But this sort of flowed easily. And I don't know if I probably took the lead from my wife on that, honestly, because she started with all the auntie stuff real quick. And I think it just kind of like flowed. But I don't even think that I had a thought about it, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
You know what? That would make sense. Right? But again,
Yeah.
I got no wife.
That
Like,
different perspective.
I ain't gonna be walking around and be like, hey, even to shot like I call her auntie to shot like that ain't I guess that's just not something that we've done. So, but on to that point, like, how important do you think it is that well we have our own village that we incorporate our kids so they really understand that no, this ain't just my friend. This is your uncle, and these are now your cousins. Like, how important is it to make sure that you establish that relationship amongst them as well?
It's real important, man, because then the transitions become like really seamless, right? Like so if there's ever a time where y'all gotta pick my kids up from school or daycare or camp or something like that, or vice versa, that's a simple transition. Oh, there's my Uncle B. There's my Uncle J. Like it just works in that way. I do worry about like when the kids get older and
You told me
and
that.
and, and, and and their homeboys start being like, like how smart are your cousin? Like, you know what I mean? And then it start getting tricky like that. But from the standpoint of like how they deal with the adults who I see as my family and their family. Like, I think that's important. I do, because I want them to, one, be very comfortable coming to y'all and whoever you guys are with, right? Like, I want them to be able to do that. And at the same time, I also want to create the separation and have them understand the difference between y'all and like other friends that we have. Other
Yeah.
friends who, like it just it's important. It's important because you start talking about trust.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, to add into that, I think for me, there wasn't that ever that issue. When I think of that, I want them to understand is in a sign of respect. When I grew up, you say auntie, you say uncle. Not only the trust in there, but it's a sign of, you never really address somebody by their full name. You never really. And for me, I only seen that as an extension of my kids showing respect to their cousin, to their aunt. So I never really had that hiccup or that worried in terms of like, how do I address this person? So that's your uncle. And they're like, what? Okay. And it's true. Sam and I had talked offline. We've always communicated like, when they get a bit older and, they run into that situation. Like right now, my kids thinks of Sam kids as their brothers. And there have been many occasions when they went to school and like, wait, you have three brothers, and they're like, well, let's explain, let's explain, let's explain this little bit. They're like,
Okay.
wait,
You
wait,
got five
no, hold
kids.
up, hold up, yeah, five. He's like, hold up.
Right.
But
Right.
I mean, it's really kind of like adding to that village sense, right? I don't know any other way to say that really brings the tight knit group together even closer with that familiar bond that comes from you referring to someone as uncle, referring to someone as aunt or cousin. So, I think it's what makes that community works well.
It'd be weird for them to call you Mister. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. No, no. And for me, it's also like for me, it's important because it also makes me appreciate like having that and having you all with your wives and your family gives me a place to have my kids experience stuff like a sleep. My kids ain't going to no fucking sleepovers and like that ain't happening. It's definitely not happening at my house. I'm a single man. My
You can't.
daughter, my
No
daughter's
way.
not going to have. There's no fucking way. Like she just
Right.
lost on that one. Like, Daddy, I want to sleep over at your house. I
Nope.
ain't going to jail. Absolutely not. Like,
Right.
but y'all kids, they be like, hey, I want to have them over. There'll be no problem. Like, they, they won't say nothing. They smell something in the garage. I come up with red eyes. They won't say a fucking word because Uncle AJ's fine, right? But them other kids, they go to school and talk their mouth. That ain't happening. Like, that's very important to have that. These kids can always like we talked about before, like birthdays.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got your own friends. When you get your own money, you have your party with your own friends. Until then, you're having a party with your cousins, which are my friends' kids. That's it. We got 8 of y'all motherfuckers, and we got 4 girls, 4 boys. Figure it out. Y'all want an all girls party? Take them. All boys party? Take them. Like that's it.
Right.
It's certain things. Those advantages are really there, but those are just like the little fun things, right? But like we keep saying village this, village that, but what's the purpose of it if it's not really doing any work? So, do you have any examples of how it's actually? We talk about things like, yeah, if I need them to do this, well, what is a real life example of something that's? Do y'all have anything like where a village really come into play?
Absolutely. I think the one that comes to mind recently, I had a situation where my daughter decided that she was going to leave school for whatever reason. All right. She end up walking away from school, and the school didn't even know she was gone. It so happened that one of my neighbor up the road, that he sits on the board with my wife, met her, saw her in the street, and decided to kind of like take her back to school. And, like in any situation, the school has called us. But that was a situation where, safety was an issue. But once relaying that story to, I think, in particular AJ, he took it upon himself to kind of explain what that looks like from his perspective. I couldn't share AJ's perspective with her, right? And I think to this day she knows Uncle AJ's story. It's the thing that sat with her. The parents were all, we were, why would you do this? There was no trying to understand anything else. It was like, this is dangerous. This is this. but having someone else explain, this is why you shouldn't do, this is why this was dangerous, this is what I did when I was small. I'm not encouraging you to do it, but this is the ramification of doing so. And I think that plays a role. And that's just one of many stories, but I think that's a salient example where, as a parent, you immediately go into, I'm going to beat the daylight out of you. You're going to fear me. This is never going to happen again. But having a child have full-fledged explanation from someone who's not you, and they reinforce your belief and your ideas, it's really a good way of kind of thinking of what the importance of a village led to raising a kid in a safe environment.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know he had that conversation, but it's fitting though, consider he was kidnapped as an adult. You can edit that out.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, it's fine. It's fine. Did I say that? My pre-dad life was wild.
But I'll jump right in there. I feel like I've gotten great benefit just from the stuff that we've already talked about with regards to the fun stuff and even like tough conversations. But just we've had health issues. We've had health issues that and we have three kids, and we've had situations where my wife and I, you got two parents that need to be in three places, and that's just an impossibility. So we've had to call on the village many times. And I guess the one that stands out the most to me that I think about pretty often is when that Thanksgiving, man, when Cam got sick just before Thanksgiving, and Bernard and his family, y'all were supposed to be, I think, heading to New York or Memphis. Y'all supposed to be heading away to family. And and y'all had us. Y'all had our other two boys. Like the two of y'all got together. Y'all know how important Thanksgiving is to me. It's my favorite holiday. I'm trying to own it. I want everybody that I love at my house for Thanksgiving. I've been trying to own it. And that year was tough because one, we weren't even sure if we were going to make it home for Thanksgiving, just being in the hospital with the boy. And two, like our our other kids had to be somewhere. And so they was with y'all. And so Bernard, you and your family, y'all decided to pass on your trip. You got with AJ, y'all organized the Thanksgiving dinner and luckily Kim got out of the hospital in time and we had Thanksgiving. We had Thanksgiving. And that I mean, if that ain't a village, I don't know what it is. I mean, that's even beyond because the truth of the matter is it would have been amazing even if y'all just held the kids and was like, all right, we still gotta make our plans happen. But y'all kept it together. Y'all kept it together.
Yeah, that, I mean, I think the village concept, but I want people to understand too that there is some work with this, right? It's not something that's automatically come. We're talking about the village concept here, but there's also the work goes into that. That requires me to maintain a friendship, maintain the understanding that, look, this is a parent, you need to keep working on developing the closeness with individuals. You're not just randomly selecting people out of thin air to stick them in your village. We have some history here with amongst us, and this just naturally lend itself into a situation where kids are involved now, and as a result of that friendship that we maintained, that we invest in, that we put our time, this is what has manifest itself into this concept of village for us and how it works.
So I do got a question about that. Like, there are times when certain people like will disappear from your village as you have kids. Have you noticed that? And as you grow with your kids, have you noticed that there's certain people that you thought were your village now they're really not there? Because I've noticed that my people that I thought were my people when it was just me, right? They didn't transition in life and move in life to me to now I'm a family person first. Like, did you have any of that you thought was going to be your village that just gone? Because we say it's work, right? Everybody village starts off bigger than what it is, and when you have kids, that motherfucker shrinks. Let's be real. I could depend on you for anything if it's less going out or something because it's not real responsibility. But if I need you to watch my child, that list from 100 people to go out. goes down the floor.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I've been fortunate to be one of the older individuals in this call. So I've had series of relationships or friendship over the course of my life that I would think that, today I can still call them. As you said, I can still call on those individuals, and I do. They're not in the inner circle of what I consider my village. Not because they're bad people, not because they were just in my life for a season. And I look at it that way. That's look, okay, that season has passed. What that person brought to my life, or they helped me through, is I still value that. But for this particular part of my journey, they're not here on a consistent basis. And sometimes distance separate that, right? I mean, in some of the case, like we relatively live close to each other. There are people that right now that I consider close friend, but their distance that location from where they are to where I am doesn't lend itself as to what I would consider a part of my village. Not only the proximity means the only people you can have in your village, but it really plays a great role when your kids see that individual on a regular basis, develop that relationship with them, and that's a valuable part. So there are ways, but for me, seasons is the best way I can describe that. And things have passed, and they're going to come back at some other point. But at this moment, I wouldn't have them. They're not in my immediate family.
Yeah. So uh, I think that's a fair thing. I will say, like, I don't even know that people have eliminated themselves, but well, first off, I'll say I don't even know that I thought of village before I had kids. Like even when we were just like, yeah, even when I was first married, it was like, yeah, I got my friends, right? But like I didn't it never even dawned on me that I might need somebody in these capacities. You know what I mean? Like it just I just didn't it was me and my wife, right? Like even before that it was just me. Like, all right, like I guess at most I might need to borrow some money off of somebody. And then if I can't do that, I'll just have to do it out. Cool. But like this is the first time in my life where there's just things that they're so beyond my control that I need help. Like literally there are things where I'm like I can't just not, right? Like so, if at time I'm broke, I could just not eat, right? Or I could go do something so that I can eat, right? Like that's but like you start dealing with children. So one, I don't know that I even thought about it before children, but since children, more so than people self-selected out. I think there's folks that I've selected out, not necessarily because, like Bernard was saying, they're bad people, but maybe their life just really isn't conducive to helping in that way, right? And then aside from that, you sort of like you find a little bit of a divide because you got these kids and you got to get real efficient with your time, right? So a lot of times you don't even get as much time as you typically would with some people because you know what? Like I ain't got it. I ain't got the time. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
But so from that standpoint, yes, there's definitely been like a contraction in how many people I guess I would consider my village. But there's also been sort of an expansion, and I mean, this might be unique to like the sort of activity that my kids have in their school and how the school is right in the neighborhood. So we've definitely found some families that we feel like we've added to our village to a different degree, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah, Adam, famous you're cool with. Oh, I saw the face. If people watching YouTube, they can see it on your face. You're like, they might watch this. So let me say they my village
It's some
in
people
case
though,
I need them.
yeah, yeah.
We
It's
cool.
some, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I think ultimately I haven't to answer your question. I don't even know if I thought about it before kids, and once kids came, I feel like my selection, even people would offer. I'm like I don't even know. Like I will, like I don't know if you know how to help. You ain't got no kids. You know what I'm saying?
Well, speaking on that though, you said they don't know how to help you because they don't have a kid. Well, your village includes someone that does not have the same gender of your kids at all, right? So how does those conversations help? Like, because every conversation that you have with Bernard, you're coming from a perspective of a boy dad. You know what I mean? And Bernard, when he talks to you, he talks to you from the version of like a girl dad. So does it help intertwine? Because of course I see it. I see both. I know both of these both genders is fucked up. I mean, let's be honest. Both sets of kids is fucked up. Boys, girls, they're both fucked up. But like, what benefits do you think you get from him is his perspective because he comes at it from a girl dad perspective?
I think I get great benefit from it, right? So like he has girls and I have boys, but I don't know. I think that Nard doesn't have a shortage of opinions, whether he's like experiencing it like directly or not. And I think I'm the same, right? Like I feel like, all right, like there's definitely some separation. You have to have a respect for the idea that, oh, I don't have girls. So a lot of times I think I'll just start with like a caveat, like, yo, like, I ain't got girls, but, and Bernard don't do all of it. Bernard just say what he got to say and is helpful. But yeah, I think I hope that answers your question.
Well, you say like I don't got girls, but so I'm saying it does it do you think it helps from the fact that he's coming from that perspective? Like, well, you'd be like, man, I don't know why this boy is acting like this. Well, because the girls are acting like this type of thing. I don't know if that makes sense or if that helps at all. Our kids are also younger, so I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't even think Bernard doesn't really seem to filter his advice through, the
Agenda
Yeah, the
gender of the
versus.
lens.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, you bring something up, he just answers,
What about for
yeah.
right?
you though? You keep talking about Bernard giving advice.
No, no, it's helpful. It's helpful.
No,
That's
I'm
why
talking
I
about
speak it out.
but
That's what I
you.
mean.
Are you able
So I'll put it this
outside
way.
of because a lot of time I'll be honest. I know what your advice be like. A lot of time be like, I ain't got girls. I ain't got no problem. Like, sometimes we can try to, and I get it. I get it. But I got a girl, so something I'll be feeling bad about, but shit I be wanting to say because I'm like I can't say that because I got a daughter.
Yeah, I think there's some commonality amongst kids. Not saying boys and girls are all the same. There's some commonality with kids. They do, as you just said in the beginning, right? They're all crazy, or they're all trying to outsmart you. Like, wait, hold up a second, dude. Or you're like, wait a second. No, no, I had that trick before. It doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. I did it, and I know
Right.
what the results is, right? So I think in in this formidable age of our kids, that it's fun watching them trying to do things that in some parts all three of us have did. Either I did it, you did, or he did it, and we're going like, that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna act like I'm stupid, like I don't know what's going on. And that, to me, that happens across gender, right? Like the kids are always trying to play you, and you're going like, you believe this? So I think you can lend your advice in those situations where they're not necessarily gender specific, right? They're not like, this is what girls need to do. This is what boys need to do. It's just like, these damn kids are driving me nuts.
Yeah,
And you'll be like,
yeah,
you're like, they're like, what? Like your kids do, mine's do, right? So across the board, for me, sharing of the opinion on whether gender of a child, especially when they're young, it's just the stupidness that they do to me that you go like,
they all dumb.
I'm like, what the hell? What the hell are you
I think,
doing?
you know, now that y'all mention that though, I do think that we probably haven't gotten to the point where it gets
Uh,
tricky.
Yes,
Right.
that's right.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yep.
also
With the oldest, you know what I'm saying? Like once it's like middle school, high school, I think that
You see the
part
separation.
yeah.
Yeah,
is
you start
is
seeing the
gonna
separation.
get tricky.
And so that's the next point I want to speak on is so I know we all are here and we all are our friends and your oldest daughter is in the same grade as my oldest daughter, Bernard.
Yep. Yes.
Sam, your oldest son is in the same grade as my
Same grade.
oldest son. Your oldest daughter is 6 months apart from my oldest daughter. Your oldest son is 6 months older than my only son. So like we all are right there in the same thing. But I know for me it is also important to have versatility within my village because I also talk to guys who, not guys, but my friends that have kids that are 22, 20. Because I'm at that stage now where I got parents that got kids that are grandfathers and they are my age. But yet I also got some that are new dads like myself. So how versatile do you keep your group? How important do you think that is?
I think it's real important. Yeah, I mean, I think even just like obviously our villages expand, right? But like just this group, we are so versatile. Like I think we have between the three of us, we are at three extremes on almost every facet, right? It somehow works. But
Mhm.
like we all have very different ways of doing all the things. We have different ideas surrounding religion. We have different ideas surrounding money. We have different ideas surrounding all sorts of stuff. Right. And again, it's I think that's great because one of my boys might look at me and be like, that's cool, dad, but I don't think that's for me. Right. And he got at least two other men he could go talk to.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fine. I'd have any of my boys emulate either of you and be very happy, right? So I think it's key to have diversity. It's a big deal.
Yeah. I think that's what a village brings to that perspective, right? For a child is once our values are aligned, right? The idea that someone else's perspective, you're allowing that person in the village that have a different perspective that to deal with your kids, you're giving them a different view, a different avenue in terms of how they can get outlets. And I think to me, that's important, right? It's not that they have to do things my way, or you'll be silly if you don't do it, if you do anything outside of what the way I did mine. But that's the importance of having a perspective, having a village, because you don't, as an individual, you can't bring all perspectives to things. You don't have all the answers. And that's what a village does. It lends itself, it gives you individuals that have diverse views, but same belief system at the end that kind of gets you down that road.
Right.
I think my versatility was more in I get what you're saying to be. Mine wasn't more or less for the benefit of the child. Mine was more or less for the benefit of the father. And I don't just mean versatility as far as like just different personalities. I mean as far as literally like I've been through this with a toddler, and now I have it to like when I'm going through this. I'm on
I
my
got
way to having my daughter go to middle school. Y'all are my best friends. I can talk to it with Bernard as we're going through it. But Bernard can't tell me what it is to expect or what it was like because he's never been through it. And so that's why that from that perspective, I was saying like I think it's important to have a very diverse group of fathers. Like Bernard, not just how you raise your children, but how you were raised. So it's just diversity there, of course. But you still haven't raised a 21-year-old, right? So that means to get to 21, you had already been through middle school. You had been
Mhm.
through high school. Right now, granted, every child is different and everything can always change. But I was just speaking to it's important to make sure that I don't want to just be friends with my girl's school teacher's friend, like her classmates' dad and stuff like that. It's important to make sure that you get a diverse of ranges of fathers as well, because what you have with a 21-year-old, yeah, you've been through all of that, but it's also good to have a father that has a 2-year-old because what that 21-year-old to tell you about this raising the kid ain't quite the same as that 2-year-old that's going through it with you. So that's from that perspective, I was thinking just like it's very important to make sure you keep that diversity.
Yeah.
That's a tough spot. I mean, because like part of it is like who you have access to, and then the second part of it is who you trust. And so that's a little tough to engineer, but I think I agree with you. But as I sit here and think, I'm like, all right, so Parker will be in fifth grade next year, then he's going to go to middle school. And I'm like, whoa, who I know? I don't know. You know what I mean? And that's a tough bit. And so then I'm like, I guess if I meet somebody and that works out, then great. But at the same time, like if not, and I just got to figure it out from where you guys are, because your girls will be ahead of me, ahead of my boy a year. That's gonna have to be it.
But I think at that time too is where it's important for you to talk about. You said you had the older ones that were around to reach back
Mhm.
out to them possibly. because we can't really we have our own image of what we were when we were younger and how we were and how everything was, but there could be
Yeah.
stuff that's saying like, no, you think that way because you viewed it through your own eyes as a child, but really you were like this, and this. So you will have somebody somewhere
Yeah,
possibly.
that's and it's hard too, just thinking about, like, the environment. Like, it's real hard, man. Like, when I really think about it and I think about the environment these kids are being raised in compared to the environment I was being raised in, by no means do I feel like my environment was bad, but it was different. You know, yeah, I love my upbringing. However, it was different. And it's hard. I mean, even like just weird stuff like, like I be trying to break my kids of this everybody gets a trophy mentality, right? Like that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I see what you mean. We definitely do need somebody to talk to who's been there.
Yeah.
No doubt.
B, you have that when you have older siblings and stuff as well.
Yeah, like no, yeah, obviously I have my brothers who have all pretty much at this point they're all empty nesters right now, so they have kids throughout that spectrum. So I think what you were talking about before, it's important to kind of see 2, 3 years ahead of you. But I also agree with Sam in the sense that sometimes that's not readily available. There are a lot of people who are raising kids that don't have the capacity. We talked about this earlier on, where you know, in this circle we're in right now, we just don't have time to kind of build and groom a new friendship to bring it to that level of trust and acceptance where you'll bring someone in or lean on them. So it's kind of difficult to do that. Doesn't mean that it's not important. It's just a limited time frame that you have with existing kids, and then trying to build a new relationship out to find out what's going on sometimes may not work. But it's great to have that. It's great to
Yeah.
have that.
But you're right. But I will suggest if someone is starting a family or trying to, you seek that out. And I think for us also, we have the benefit that we're talking about that while we already have a village, you know, and we're talking about it from a perspective because we don't have to have because we already have one. That extra benefit would be nice. And I mean, I have it. But it's and you have it too. So when you think about it, you maybe put more thought into it after this. You find out that you will have it, but it's something that we should work towards. I understand that is hard, but I think that is something very very important. Not just, for example, you two are married. The perspective in which you come from and what you give on not just raising kids, but also dealing with your kids, perspective is completely different than mine as someone who is not in the house every day. The struggles, to everything we talk about. And that's why it's also important for me to have my village consist of people who are in a situation like I am. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we're all fathers.
Makes sense.
We all are great fathers here. I'm the only real baby daddy on here. You know what I mean? Like y'all are husband fathers. I'm not. And so when it comes to certain things where it's like, yo, like I'm dealing with this, and it's like it's like I feel like I'm going through everything. I got somebody that's be like, yeah, I've been there. I can't. Y'all can empathize, but you can't really say like, yeah, I ain't like you
That's
don't know
fair.
what that. And so that's
Yeah.
why that's why I want to speak to. It's important to have a very versatile farther to not just from just the perspective, but also background, all of that, the demographic of what the children are, all of that is important because you're going to need that in order to become a well-rounded father. You're going to need it. I mean, hell, for me, nothing else. Y'all are married fathers and let you know sometimes help keep you in a marriage. Like you don't want this baby daddy shit. Like you know what I mean? Sometimes, like sometimes, sometimes you got to live off somebody else's pain. You know what I mean? You're like we had a
Never.
conversation.
I've never thought about not being married since I got married.
I'm not gonna touch that. That's that touch that with a 10 foot pole. I'm gonna just leave that.
Yeah, yeah. See, the married man knows to leave it alone. That's what I'm saying. That's why perspective. That's why perspective matters. Um,
Exactly.
and
Oh man.
I would want to say that like a village to me, of course I take family serious. I always have. And maybe I take it for granted because my family will always be my family and no matter how much we argue, fuss, fight, whatever. And like I said, I just expect my family to be there. But this is important to me because this isn't just the family that you choose, it is the family that also chose you, right? Because it's I could have my kids feel whatever way I want to about y'all or whatever way I want them to feel like this is my cousin, my cousin. But if y'all don't feel that way, when I walk out the door, they be like, "Man, don't be calling nigga your cousin when you walk out of school. Don't be doing. Just make them happy here." Like if it's something like that, then it doesn't work, right? And that's
Mhm.
why I feel like it is so important to make sure that you choose your village and you have people, good, genuine people by your side because you're not going to be able to do this by yourself. You're
Right.
just not. And you find those people that you can grow with, that you can be there with. Like, if something were to happen to me tomorrow, it's almost like it's a given. I assume my family would be there, but I would be very disappointed if Jet doesn't grow up with Sam or Bernard or Autumn Aubrey or any of my kids. Like, if something were to happen to me, they're already set up. I'm not saying no shit like something happened to me, you take care of my, hell no. You don't take care of my
Mhm.
kids, but you be in their life
Right.
because I understand that the men and the principles in which you stand for can translate to my daughters so they can understand what a real man looks like, to my son so he can see what a real man looks like. And that is important. And that is something that can last longer than I'm just being. Because for me, there's times when I haven't been here. And there's no way that, I haven't been here, but my kids don't miss a beat. Like, hey, you're not, my kids weren't family based off of just AJ. They are family because they are family.
Mhm.
AJ's living in North Carolina. Parker has a birthday in Maryland. Sam's gonna pick up Jet and Aubrey. They're gonna go to goddamn Parker's because that's his family, whether his dad is there or not, whether the mom is going to do it or not. Not saying that she wouldn't, but
Yeah.
whether they're there or not, it's not their responsibility because these are the men that I have around me. And these are the
Right.
like, and at any point, like, I remember we can have conversation with these kids and mold them. And that's very, very important. I remember Bernard's daughter coming to me, talking to me about a card I wrote for her before she was born at her baby shower. When I was like, no, no boys ever. I'm like, I don't even remember writing this, but she comes
Yeah.
up to me like, like I remember having conversations with your son, the quarterback of my football team. Like I do stuff like that, and that stuff means the world to me. And I don't understand how my life could be without that. And so for that, I want to say I appreciate you all for being on the call, but I appreciate you much further for actually being Uncle Bernard, Uncle Sam, and being, well, of course, you're my daughter's godfather. Bernard, you're an example of what a father should look like and be. And so for that, I appreciate you fellas. And like I said, there's no way I can go through life as a father without you all. There's me learning, me progressing, me becoming a man that I want to be. You gotta have examples, right? I don't want to do everything that you do. I don't want to do everything that Sam does. I don't want to do everything that Bernard does. But I want
Right.
to be able to have a foundation that I can pull from that these are solid individuals. And for me, having these solid individuals, I'm able to take stuff from that and pump that into my children. And so that's important to have that. And without that, like my children wouldn't be the children that they are without my village.
Mhm.
And if I want them to be the way I want them to be, I got to make sure I choose and have the village that I need. So I appreciate you all beyond any any fucking podcast or call I ever had.
Same here, man. I
Appreciate
appreciate
that,
you
man. That's
guys.
good. Yeah. Appreciate you too, Jay. Appreciate you a lot.
Episode of Just My Baby Daddy podcast. I know you like what you saw. So what I need for you to do is go back and look at past episodes. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share our YouTube page, Just My Baby Daddy podcast. And you can follow us on all social media at Just My Baby Daddy Pod.